Welcome back. A young woman who puts money into a pension in line with the government's auto-enrolment contributions is likely to end up with a retirement pot more than 10% smaller than a man. The average pension pot will typically be just over £140,000 for a man investing under those circumstances, but just over £125,000 for a woman. Well, a new report from Fidelity says that's because of the gender pay gap and career breaks. But closing that gender pension gap could be as easy as an extra 1% contribution in the early days of a career. Well, Maike Currie is Investment Director at Fidelity International. Enjoys him now. Maike, great to see you. So how much of this reflects women taking career breaks to raise a family?
Ian, those figures are only a reflection of the gender pay gap. So the knock-on impact, the fact that women still earn less than men, and what this does to our pension pot over a lifetime. Now, that's not taking into consideration career breaks. It's not taking into consideration the fact that women often take a break to raise the family or to care for a sick or elderly relative. If you take that into account, it's compounded.
Crikey. So, I mean, so the shortfall would be how much greater?
Well, currently, in most EU countries, the gender pension gap is about 30%. That's almost double the gender pay gap. So there is this long-term knock-on effect that a lot of women don't realize when they take those breaks.
But the interesting thing about your report is not, I mean, those figures in themselves are pretty shocking, but you've also outlined some interesting characteristics about the way women invest. They tend to be a lot more risk-averse than men.
Yes, that's right. So women still shy away from investing, even though we are diligent savers, even though we make a lot of financial decisions and we're confident to make those financial decisions, we still tend to put our savings in cash rather than into the stock market. And this is reflected by individual savings account data in the UK. So overall, women hold far more ISAs, but the money is held in cash ISAs rather than stocks and shares ISAs. Now, you and I both know that interest rates have been at record lows now for more than a decade, which means over 10 years your returns have gone nowhere, whereas the stock market has actually done quite well.
So why do you think women are more cautious investors?
Well, there are a number of issues. There are personal barriers. We are more risk averse. We think about money differently, not as our own, but as the families. There are also barriers posed by the industry. People are still put off. Women in particular are put off by jargon, by communication, by thinking that the investment is not for them. And then obviously policy, the way pensions are designed don't take account of those life choices and challenges that are unique to women.
Yeah, so I mean, essentially this is an issue for both government and the industry. So the industry needs to be more female friendly, but the government perhaps needs to rethink how the pension system works to benefit women, savers more.
Absolutely. If we look at auto-enrolment, that program by the government to get more people investing into the pensions, that has been very successful because more people are putting money into their pots, but a lot of women still fall through the cracks because auto-enrolment didn't take into account that a lot of women work part-time or have a few jobs and they fall below that earnings cap.
And of course, historically, what we used to call gold-plated pensions, final salary pensions, defined benefit pensions, call them what you will, I mean, those really did favour men rather than women because of that issue of taking career breaks and so forth.
That's such a key point. And really in this new world of low interest rates, of where we're moving from defined benefit, the kind of Rolls Royce of pensions, to defined contribution pensions, being a hard worker and an assiduous saver is no longer enough. We have to invest. We have to get engaged with our pensions. Most of us don't know how much we've got in a pension, where it's investing, or how much we're contributing each month. And we need to change that. We need to get women more engaged.
It's quite interesting, your findings, in another sense, though, because female fund managers, the professionals, tend to do better than a lot of the men, don't they? Because they get less emotional. They're far more hard-headed about closing losing positions.
It's very interesting, and there's research going back to the late 1990s looking into this. So men do trade more often, and we know that that pushes up the cost of investing, where women adopt a far more buy and hold approach. So when we decide to invest, we've got a goal, we focus on that, whether it's saving for a child's university or saving for our first deposit on a property, we stick to that. And ultimately, if you are investing in the stock market, that kind of long-term approach is very, very beneficial.
All right, Maike Currie, Investment Director at Fidelity International. Thanks for joining me. It's good to see you.